What's up, gentlemen? You guys don't know yet, but Basson, what do you want me to call you, man? I don't want to. You want me to refer to you as your YouTube channel, your name? What do we got? What do we got for the people?
It doesn't matter, man.
Well, this
I'm
is
calling you CJ.
Anyways,
CJ's got a really good fishing channel out there, and he's also a huge sports guy. So it's a perfect blend. It's kind of like what we do. It's like we blend emotional human stories with sports. And CJ's got a good sports knowledge and a really good knack for fishing. And you make it really entertaining with some of his cuts and some of his stuff. And he's always bringing on interesting people like we try to do here. So I think if you guys like this kind of content, I mean, it's very much the same. It's kind of chill. It reminds me of golf almost, CJ. How calming it can be. It's kind of got a Bob Ross kind of feel to it. And then all of a sudden, CJ starts yelling like a Southern man. So you got a little bit of both. You got the calm, sort of serene kind of peace, and then all of a sudden CJ gets all excited. So, and that's just like sports. All of a sudden you're in the first quarter, nothing's going on, just chilling, laying back like Mike with a nice hoodie, and then the fourth quarter comes, the fourth, and the intensity goes up. I think tonight's game with the Warriors and the Mavericks is going to be fireworks. I think we're about to see the best game we've seen in the playoffs of all the games. Like I just think Chris Paul's gonna not get in foul trouble. I want to talk about that because like a couple of weeks ago I got in trouble, not in trouble, but I'm being tongue in cheek. But everyone thought I was hating on Chris Paul. I thought the refs were really unfair to Chris Paul. I think it was on Sunday when the last play. I thought that game was terribly officiated, but it affected Chris Paul the most. Did you guys have any takeaways?
That was a game I actually didn't see on Sunday, so I can't say particularly, but
it was terrible. It was.
I heard the refs weren't letting him get away with stuff, and it could have possibly been because Jason Kidd had kind of given the refs like a preemptive warning, like, hey, watch out for this stuff he does. He can't get away with that. But
hey, I'll give him credit.
I don't know if CJ caught the game at all or not, but
yeah,
being Mother's Day, I was a little occupied during the day. I caught the late game, but go ahead.
I just been sticking to the East stuff. The other stuff don't really matter until the finals.
I got you. So for those of you who don't know, CJ is a big-time Celtics fan. He is our Celtics super fan, so we wanted to get him on tonight to get a little Celtics tape because they've been looking really good. And I just want to say CJ and I made a bet midway through the season about roughly, and it's a friendly bet. It's nothing, but he had threw out the option to take a $20 bet for the Celtics to go to the conference finals. And I was like, I mean, I like Tatum and I like Brown. I like most of the guys on the team, but I don't know. I don't know that they're ready. And plus, given the options and the field, like there's a lot of competition in the East. So I felt pretty good with my odds. I was like, even money, $20. Why not? Let's roll the dice. But now, I mean, honestly, from the moment we made that bet, CJ, if I'm being honest, shortly after that, I started to realize that the Celtics were on that run. And I was like, all right, this is definitely not going to be a sure thing, like a shoe-in. I first took it probably just thinking like, yeah, no brainer. Why not? I got the Bucks. I got the Bulls were in first place, I think, at the time. So I was like, I got Philly, and they didn't even have Harden at the time. I felt good, but I think the Celtics are looking good. So if you want to take the floor on what you think the Celtics got going on in the rest of the series, have at it.
Yeah. So when I made that bet, so if you don't watch the Celtics consistently, you don't get to see the little things that's going on because it doesn't make the sports highlights and all that stuff. But so I think it was right around Christmas time. I think the Celtics got beat by the Bucks, or they beat the Bucks. I can't remember. But after Christmas time, that's when they really started turning it on. They were like 25 and 25 at Christmas time, and that was going through. And then all of a sudden, like, they just strung 9 games together, and I was like, dude, I just wanted to bet Mike just because, like, I'm seeing a flash here, like, there's a little bit of a spark. And I was like, you know what, Mike's a betting guy. I was like, let's see if Mike wants to bite on this one. So I did that, and so fast forward to now, it wasn't a shock for how they won the series to me for the Nets, but it kind of shocked me when KD and Kyrie quit. You know what I mean? Like, they kind of packed it in after they got punched in the mouth.
Quit. I need you to elaborate. That's a strong word, sir.
Yeah.
Do what?
I'm not saying that.
I didn't know that they quit, but
Kyrie definitely airmailed it, dude. I've seen it. I've seen it in Boston. I've seen it in Cleveland.
I still can't. Now, I want to know why you think they quit. Like, what? Because that was a strong statement you said there.
They had so much going on between coronavirus and just, like, their team got gutted because of the Ben Simmons trade. Like, the media was on top of them, and, like, they just couldn't just come over the top. Like, they were just getting beat down. And, like, I seen it in Kyrie's eyes. Like, there was a picture that I saw where it was the same time where he quit in Cleveland, and then the same time he quit in Boston. Because if you remember, in Boston, he got hurt the year that they went to the conference finals when Tatum was a rookie. And Gordon Hayward also got hurt. We went all the way to the conference finals, and then he got hurt. And then the next year, I think we beat the Pacers, and then we got killed by the Bucks. And Kyrie, middle of the Bucks series, in that time, he quit and was like, I'm just getting surgery. Then he's like, peace out.
I get that. And I don't know.
I will say with the 2 superstars like that, they did deplete their roster. Like, they did have to rely on some younger guys, and then the Ben Simmons thing never did come to fruition. So there was that. But
I think Kyrie's made of plastic, and he gets the flame on him. Like, unless he's like going good and, like, it's a tough situation when they're in the series, like, he'll deal with it. But when he's getting shut out, like, he just quits.
I know you're not a fan of either one of these players, so I think this would be interesting questions you think. Which one would you invest in the next 2 years? Kyrie or Kevin, if you had to start a team? So you have to start a team with one of them.
I would go with Kevin because he's not going to make some stupid head game out of something stupid. Like, Kevin would be able to basically keep it straightforward and not, like, go around the bush and then backstab somebody and then say something differently.
Fair enough. I just want to prove to people you're not Bill Simmons. You know more basketball than just the Celtics.
It's not that I hate Kyrie's game. I just hate the way he, like.
Oh, I know.
He says one thing, and then, like, you're like, what are you talking about? And then, like, he'll come back and, like the way he gave, like, middle fingers and all that other stuff, and, like, all the profanity on, like, the post game stuff. Like, if another player did that, like, they would have got suspended or something stupid. Like, I think he got a bill of $50,000.
I give Kyrie a little bit of a pass because he has been attacked so much by the media for his vaccination status, and I think he's well within his right to have taken that stance. And whether Stephen A. or whoever on ESPN wants to make this claim that, well, he let his team down because, he wasn't willing to take a shot. Like, what are you scared of? Well, I think there's plenty of reason after the data has been coming out. There was plenty of reason not to take it, and that's why nothing's being mandated anymore. But enough about that.
It doesn't matter. It's just a personal choice. Like, no one knows what to do with their bodies, in my opinion. Like, in that sense, I don't.
As far as like, That has nothing to do with basketball. Like, that's personal choice. Like, it's like someone talking crap if you had to leave for 2 months because someone died. It's the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, you can't
Right.
attack.
Yeah. You take personal time or
Right.
like, yeah. I mean, when Calvin Ridley took time off, and I still have no idea exactly what he took time off for, and I don't care to know. It's his own personal business. If an NFL player who's making millions of dollars says, I'm just going to step aside for the time being because mental health reasons, I am going to respect his decision,
Yeah.
and I don't need to know anymore. If you're willing to walk away from a salary, I'm assuming he's not getting paid if he just walks away with no injury, and it's again for obvious personal reasons, like that's fine. And the gambling thing I think has nothing to do with it because that happened after the fact. I think it was just he did that while he was home, and it seemed like he was just bored. But yeah, I don't judge personal decisions like that. But with Kyrie and KD, to say they quit, I don't know if they quit. I think like give credit to Boston. And I know CJ, we had talked about it when that series was going on a couple weeks ago. Like Boston gave KD the best defense he's ever seen, maybe ever. Like he talked about it in the press conferences. He's like, I'm getting, 2-3 hands in my like not 2-3 hands in my face like one guy putting 2 hands up. He had like 2 or 3 guys putting 1 hand up trying to close out, and he admitted in at least one of the post-game press conferences like, that's different, and he kind of needed to make the recognition like maybe I need to be a facilitator more and accept that double team or even triple team is going to come and then find somebody, but they never made the adjustment. So I give credit to Boston on that with the defense, and I don't think they quit. I'm surprised they just didn't adjust.
Well, you remember the comment Kyrie said that they didn't need a coach.
Right.
And
yeah, maybe they do.
Maybe they do. So like Steve Nash is basically like Wade Phillips for the Cowboys back in the day.
That is so on point.
So like when you have 2 superstars that don't need to be coached, that's fine. But like someone's got to coach the rest of the team. You know what I'm saying?
But they did need to be coached because they could have made more plays. Like they.
But you can't coach also players. They're going to do what they do, and that's that. Look at James Harden.
I disagree. The reason
James Harden can be a playmaker, though.
Yeah.
He's shown that.
Every
he did it on the Nets.
Playmaker, but like when they want to take step backs and take 5-second threes and like all this other stuff, like
it's a good option to have. It's not the
CJ. I can't.
It's coaching though. It's coaching, like you said.
Yeah.
Someone's got to have the balls to tell these guys like save that for desperation. It's great you have it in your arsenal.
Yeah, like you can. I know there's like 2-for-1s and 3-for-1s and all this other stuff. Because I remember I heard Chatham talking about it when Chris Paul taught him that, where you got like a 3-for-1 on like a minute or whatever, coming up the court or whatever. But like sometimes, like I know people are great 3-point shooters and stuff, but like if you notice, like the playoff stats and just the mechanics, the nature of the playoffs, like everybody talks about mid-range shots are garbage. Like the mid-range shot in the playoffs is one of the keys to opening up everything because it's either you drive or you shoot threes. Nobody shoots mid-ranges. And when you can shoot an easy mid-range and you're getting locked up from driving, it's easy money.
Yep. You're right. And that's what the defenses, like the coaching staffs, are preaching against. What do we need to defend? it's the 3-point and the layups because that's what the analytics are showing. But when you pepper in that mid-range as well, now they have to think about three things in the middle of the game. They're like, okay, actually, or they're just going to give you that mid-range and then it's a fucking easy shot. It's as, you're a pro. It's a layup.
Yeah, and
It should be.
It's like game 4. Boston didn't really have that many points in the paint in the series, and they opened it up with 48 points last night. And they shot, I think, 10 or 12 mid-ranges. And then once Lopez and everybody started coming out, like Marcus Smart bullied Drew Holiday, in the post, just scoring. And then Tatum started driving, and then Horford just went off. And
this game was nuts last night.
Some people say I go off on a limb with this, but I was talking about Horford the last couple of weeks of the season. Nobody paid attention because he's washed up. It's just he's more comfortable in Boston. That's why he works in Boston.
Maybe he was washed up because he was cleaning up for the playoffs. Honestly, maybe he was getting ready. He was scrubbing up. He was saving his best for when it mattered. I mean, that's what a veteran should do in this situation.
Yeah. And you got to remember, he didn't play a whole year in OKC, basically.
Yeah, he's well rested.
But going back to that Nets series, so everybody forgets that Ime Udoka coached the Nets last year as an assistant.
Oh.
And he coached for the 76ers the year before that. And he coached Horford on the 76ers. And he coached Team USA with Tatum, Brown, Smart, and who was it? I think that was all three of them. 4 of them. Yeah, Tatum, Brown, Smart. Yeah, coached all 4 of them. So he's got deep ties with these teams that he's beaten and the players he's coaching. And for Horford, he's more of a comfort kind of guy. When he's comfortable, you see him take off. Remember when he was with the Hawks? He had that comfortable mid-range shot. And see, if Tatum and Horford worked that 2-1 pick and roll or the pick and pop, that would be dangerous because Brook Lopez would be getting put in the blender.
Yeah, Brook can't. He can guard in the paint, but on the perimeter.
Let me just give an update to the current game we're watching.
That's true.
Bam Adebayo is having we all know he's an all-star, but he is taking over this game, in my opinion. And I don't even know his fantasy stats. I don't know his scoreboard stats. I'm just saying, as a guy watching the game, he and obviously trying to pay attention to you guys, it's even more imperative and makes it more impressive. Is every time I look up, he's doing something good. It's not always translating to, the easy bake oven where you see the results always is quick, but he's making the right plays, playing good defense. I think this might be one of his best games.
I think Bam Adebayo is the equivalent of Marcus Smart, but as a center.
Without the 3. I don't think Bam shoots any 3s. But I'm sure you're probably talking more of just
just
stylistically.
Under the radar, where the stat sheet doesn't show the importance of his.
For sure. Yeah. Bam would be a good fit on any team because
basically more athletic Draymond.
Yeah, he's bigger. He's got 2 inches on Draymond at least, and he is that power forward that doesn't mind playing center the whole year. People talk about LeBron, he could be a great 5, but he doesn't want to play center. And even Anthony Davis at 6'11", he doesn't want to play center. It's too much of a beating. Bam Adebayo's bring it.
Well, you know why Anthony Davis is soft, right? He actually was a point guard before he had his growth spurt. He was
he was 6'3" and then shot up, right? Yeah, before. But that, to his credit, good for him, or it worked out for him.
We did speak about that. I think I went to make the point earlier. I think you have to know your superstars, and so that's the beautiful thing about being a coach. It's like some superstars fit better with different coaches, and then like you can't say, "Oh yeah, you're an all-star. I have to coach you this way," because there are certain all-stars that we had. Like, for example, Jimmy Butler is probably a lot different than Anthony Davis when you go to talk to them man to man. Like as a coach myself, even on the high school level, I realized that like we had two good players, and one of the A players and one of the B players. You can talk to them differently because that was the best way to get it out of them. I think honestly, I think that's how Phil Jackson made all of his money because he was a master, a Freudian, if you will, from a psychological standpoint. Like X's and O's, I don't think Phil Jackson was that good, but I think he knew how to motivate. And I do think that's why Steve Nash is going to, if they stuck with him, I think he could turn that Nets team around because I do think players respect him. I just don't know if he'll get that chance.
Well, see, like when it goes to Udoka, like it was funny. I saw a picture of Pop and Manu where he had his arm around him, like, and then they had Smart and Udoka like that, and it was kind of cool. Like, and your best defensive player, that's a point guard. Like, it's kind of like you're the offensive coordinator, you know, sending the quarterback out. You know what I mean? So like that was a pretty cool picture I saw. But like when you have credibility, being a good player, but also like holding people accountable, and you play defense, and you basically instill toughness in your team, like that goes a long way. And like when you say stuff, and then like your coaching philosophy, you're able to back it up. That's when you get your team on board. You know, when you got this dude that's up there saying all this stuff, and then like, you know, you can't turn it around. Like that's when the coach is getting, you know, slaughtered.
No, I think you're right. So, it was interesting because Steph Curry mentioned it. Mike Brown actually got coached two teams, or basically got announced to coach two teams in one night. I just want to mention that as an oddity. That was a thing. So he actually got announced as the Kings head coach, and then coached the Warriors as their head coach. I think that was I think it was almost historic because we talked about mentality of coaches. Like Mike, that
What happened to CJ?
I'm not sure. Hopefully, we'll get him back. He's got the link, but I can't think of a better example. But you remember when Kobe was going through his trial, and he was flying into Denver,
And then coming back and playing.
Right.
Yeah.
He got all this, you know, credit, if you will, for like the basketball performance and being ready. I think we have to give Mike Brown some credit for that performance, because to be like, he probably knows this is his last chance at like to be a head coach. And so you get that emotional pull of like, you're the head coach now, you're the man. Yeah, there's a job to do, but I got Steve Kerr, I got, you know, and then he found out on his way, he was like in an Uber. He found out on his way he was going to coach that game. So it wasn't even planned. Like it was like an immediate thing. We talk about emotions and like human elements in this show. I just gotta give that guy some credit. That was great tenacity.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would just figure for a guy who's been a head coach multiple times in his career, I don't even think it phased him.
You don't think? I mean, hopefully, maybe not. Maybe that speaks to how good of a coach he is. Because honestly,
no, you're just waiting for that opportunity. Like you totally get that Steve Kerr's the man. It's the Warriors. They've won 3 titles. He's got the voice whenever he wants, but obviously with him having COVID, and then you get put in that position, and it's just like, all right, well, I know what to do. When he asks me to speak up on, I'm sure he's the more defensive coach. I'm sure he's comfortable talking to all these guys. So I don't think it is a big deal, I guess. I don't know.
What is y'all's take on Morant might be out for the rest of the playoffs?
I'm bummed. I'm super bummed.
I think the Grizzlies are out for the rest of the playoffs anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it's probably looking like that. If he's out, now that they're 3-1, they're not gonna win 3 without Ja
Oh yeah.
in a row. Like, forget it. It's probably gonna be the next game.
Yeah.
Right? Oh wait, next game's back in Memphis, right?
I believe so. They were the higher seed.
They had a better seed. Yeah. They were 2 and 3, weren't they?
They might steal one. If Kerr's not back, I don't think Brown, like, I was listening to ESPN radio and they said something about Steph Curry making a joke that, like, with Brown as the coach, we almost played like the Kings tonight or something like that, and it was like almost a shot at him or something along those lines. So I just
Oh yeah. No, it was bad. And he chuckled, Mike. He okay, so you know how somebody says something and they're like, "Oh shoot, I shouldn't have said that," or like,
okay.
Okay, this man was in a heavyweight boxing match, man. It wasn't a little jab he threw. He threw the whole kit and caboodle. He threw the uppercut. He threw the side kick. He threw he threw it all, man. Because afterwards, he bit down on the mouth pad and he was just laughing, joking. He's like, I thought I played for the Kings tonight. I was like, you can't say that. Like, and then he laughed. Like, he doubled down. Like, it's like he was playing blackjack. He's like, screw it. Fuck it. Let's do it live. He totally went Riley. He just said, I don't care. But I will say, we talk about coaching and just honesty. I kind of like it that we're seeing Kyrie, talk about flat earth, whether you agree with it or not. You see, his vaccination records. You see Curry making these references to the Kings because the Kings have sucked. They have sucked, and they should be offended. And maybe that's what they need to get better. I like the honesty. One of the old guys who I think has been honest for a long time, and he gets a lot of credit for it, and just no other coach or general manager is that way as Pat Riley. Jimmy Butler is also one of those guys. I just like these type of guys, and hopefully, as we get younger in the NBA, we see more of it. I would be a fan of it. You don't even got to agree with their opinions, but I like it when you see more personality, and I think it helps them in advertising standpoint too. I think that's why the NBA does so well, is because these players are front and center. Like, literally, they don't wear a helmet. They're not afraid to speak their mind. It reminds me a lot of the UFC and the way they do their press conferences after the playoffs too. Like, they come in and you get some raw emotions. I got to give credit to that over like the NFL, who tend to button up their athletes a little bit more.
I want to switch gears. I want to talk about some refs.
Some what?
Some refs.
Some refs?
Yeah. Officiating.
Yeah, go ahead. Because I could go in on how they call Chris Paul the game. I thought what they did to Chris Paul was wrong. What do you got, CJ?
All right, this is where I go to the bathroom because I got nothing on refs.
So, obviously, guarding Giannis is going to get foul calls, right?
Yeah.
I feel like the refs are terrible in this aspect because, it's not like coaches that are defensive minded and they want to bring physicality and all that stuff. And they say, hey, we got to see the first 5 minutes of the game, to get in the flow to see how it's called, so we can attempt. Well, like in the Brooklyn series, they let us play physical, and then the last fourth quarter, they let it get super ticky-tack. You know what I mean? And I feel like the refs are not doing a good job of keeping it consistent. Like, it's either you get your star player calls and all that. I get that, but some of these calls are just ridiculous. Like last night's game was just terrible, especially with charges and elbows and all kinds of stuff.
I don't care how they call the game, CJ, whether they call it physical or finesse. I just want it called both ways for both teams. I think you would agree with that.
The switch up at halftime of physicality or ticky tack.
Right. I think we're on the same page there. I don't care how you call the game, just call it the same way throughout. That's what one of my high school coaches would always tell the ref. He's like, how are we gonna call it? He's like, you're like a baseball ump, he's like, I don't care where your strike zone is. Just let me know where your strike zone is so I can inform my players. So we adjust to whatever style you want. Like think of the refs as the conductors, The players are gonna make the music, but let's let the players make the music. They can conduct the game how they want to, just be fair and be consistent. I think that's all the fans really want.
But you think about it in this aspect, like if star players don't get ticky-tack calls, like their stats get inflated from that.
You would agree, though, we're seeing less like pump fake, lean in threes. I
happened last night with Wesley Matthews. And
I'm not saying it's eradicated. I'm just saying I think they're doing a better job of balancing it out.
the point is, Matt did that in game 3. When game was on the line, we were down by 3 points, and he was shooting a 3, and he got fouled, and they didn't call it. But then Wesley Matthews last game love faked, and he got fouled, and he leaned into the dude. He like shoulder checked it.
Yeah. Well,
that's what I did. It's like they didn't call the foul for us when it was a blatant foul, but then they give them the lean in. You know what I mean?
Well, I think it's also the different referees too. You got to know, like back when I was in high school, like you knew the nights when Crawford would be your referee. Like the referees that are quick to call the technicals and stuff like that. It's part of the game. It really is. It's just as important as knowing a play or knowing how to come off the screen. Like I view it the same way. It's a technicality that you have to know as a professional.
But to me, like as a player, if you're calling it one way and then you're getting away with what they're calling, and then all of a sudden you flip it, like that makes a player go in their shell and not be aggressive, and it takes the fun out of the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a foul fest, and you don't get a good product to put on the floor because it's switched all of a sudden.
Well, we always talk about it too, is how things aren't always right and wrong on this podcast. Like I always bring that up with sports, is how things. So like when you watch a game of football, right? Some people like a defensive game and some people like an offensive game. So you got to realize when you don't like a certain way they're playing basketball, it's probably some 12-year-old loves it. Some people don't like to watch Steph Curry. Some people love him. I think that's why the NBA is in such a healthy position, because they have so much versatility in the types of players.
See, I like everything, but I also game with like momentum swings, not like like the game has hiccups every 5 seconds with stupid foul calls.
Yeah. So, CJ, we're winding this live game down. We got 1:55 on my YouTube TV, so I'm probably a bit behind some of you, maybe ahead of some of you others, so I won't ruin anything.
I think it was at the line, so.
But what's your overall view of how you think the series is going to go?
Well, Miami has home court, so I think if Kyle Lowry's out, I don't think he really matters. I think he's more of an accessory for like when stuff's tough, you know what I mean? Because he's a shot maker, tough shot maker, and he's won a championship. But I just don't see the away teams winning and the other opponents winning unless it's Miami. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I want to mention it again. I know Mike likes this player, so hopefully he'll be back soon. He might be able to speak to him. We've saw a resurgence from a lot of people. I mean, we talked about Al Horford earlier, but Victor Oladipo's resurgence with this Heat team has probably kept them in the series. Like I honestly think without Victor Oladipo, given that they lost Kyle, I think the Sixers would have probably won one of these games. I think he's been that impactful.
And Max Strus actually was a Celtics player at one point in time for Summer League, way back when he was healthy, and they let him go.
Yeah. Sometimes I get him and Spoelstra mixed up. They look a lot alike. Like if they stand next to each other sometimes from a far enough distance. And by the way, before Mike gets back, I'll shoot the shit with some of you guys. I know we got some live viewers in here. It is warm here in Michigan, man. For the first time all summer, I am sacrificing for you tonight. First of all, my dad called, messed up my dinner, so I'm trying to eat and produce a show. I have my air conditioner off right now because it would make too much noise and create some background noise. So that's why you see some sweat on the old brow of the old man here, because that's how dedicated I am to producing at least a watchable show. So I don't want to hear this. You're not professional and kind of nonsense because I'm not going to invest in $1,000 green screen right away. But I will turn off my air conditioner to show you guys some love. So I do appreciate all the people in the chat tonight. I think we got the most comments. Don't forget, guys, like and subscribe. When we get to 100 subscribers, we're going to do a big giveaway. We're going to bring on all of our friends. We're going to do like a New Year's kind of celebration. It's going to be fun. I got some cards up my sleeve that not even Mike knows about for that giveaway. So when we get to 100 subscribers, there's a lover's lane not too far down from me. We're gonna pop it off, man. It's gonna be fun.
Also, shout out to my girlfriend that's in the comments. Thanks.
Oh yeah, it was wanted as like this is our first female, I believe. We'll pull up her comment right here. So has she watched the game with you yet, CJ?
She's going to.
Okay, so what? Okay, so she can answer if she wants to in the comments. What's your expectations? How do you think it's going to go?
She'll probably say that.
I didn't catch any of that, Mike. Did you get what?
I complained about the refs like for a full 30 minutes of like just text messages. She's like, "How's it going?" I was like, "Screw these refs, man."
Hold on, CJ. We're getting some bad feedback from anybody. I want to make sure.
I heard more of that time. It's only when he has a short.
I turned my mic. I turned it up a few seconds ago.
No, you're good.
That works now. You're good now. So she's gonna watch the game with you for the first time tomorrow night. You said
Friday.
She sounds like a diehard Celtics all the way, man. CJ, you convert.
Hold on, CJ. This is a big commitment now, man. Like this isn't just a regular season game 60 in the season now. You're pulling her into the big playoff game. She's gonna see the real CJ now. Are you afraid she's gonna see some tears?
She used to play basketball and volleyball. She's 6 foot, so I think she's getting into.
But what if the Celtics lose by like 15? Is she gonna see some tears? Are you gonna get glassy eyed on her?
I mean, at least my girlfriend's with me, so you're gonna keep that.
I'll tell you what though. Talking about heartache, I'll tell you what was really hard. When the Pistons beat the Lakers that one year in like 2006, 2007, going to high school that next morning was terrible, man.
So we got the next game coming up. Hopefully that's going to be a better game than this piece of crap.
Mike, I want to get your take on the significance of Kyle Lowry being out. Like me and Logan were touching on this.
Apparently nothing. They won by like 30.
My take on that, right, is like I feel like no team is going to win away unless it's Miami in this series.
Hold on, I gotta say, I gotta interrupt because this is a live update. I need everyone, if you're watching this with us, look at Chris Haynes' suit and his dress shirt. That is a sexy ass outfit he's got on, man. I'm jealous of that. I want that suit, man.
He's got to be 6'3", because what's Jimmy, 6'6"?
Yeah, that's beautiful. Craig Sager, you that crazy man. We all love you Sage, for your circus perform. But that outfit, man, that's on point. But go ahead. Sorry.
Well, what I was saying is I feel like Kyle Lowry is not that important in this series until it's like for the money, because he's won a playoff series a bunch of times. He's won the championship, and he's a big shot maker. But I don't see an away team winning a home game in this series unless it's Miami. and I feel like
Fair.
it's going to go 7 games.
I think Miami could win the next one. I mean,
But
I was kind of surprised Philly won both at home. I think Miami's just a bad matchup for them. And if Embiid was healthy, it'd be different, but he's got a lot going on now.
I really like this Heat team, man.
if they had Seth Curry, that would have been a bit different.
You know how, like, okay, so imagine you were raised by non-smokers, right? So you're raised by non-smokers, and then you walk into like a really great bowling alley with like all these bowling pros, and you really enjoy the game of bowling, but it's just filled with full of smoke. And you're like,
You sound like my life story.
well, then you're like, I don't know if I can handle this. Like, I got to get used to this environment. I don't. But man, I love hanging out with these guys. The beer's always cold. Like, these guys know what they're doing. Like, I'm really enjoying myself. And so you keep going back, and eventually the smoke in the air doesn't bother you. That's what's happening with me with the Heat. It's like this team's really growing on me, man. I've always appreciated Bam. I always thought Bam was a good player. I'm starting to think Bam is like an underrated, like maybe you could build a team around him, that good of a player. Like he might remind me more of a Giannis type ascension than I gave him credit for in the beginning. I really think like he can expand his game as a point guard as we wrap up on the Heat. You know, I really enjoyed tonight's conversation, Mike, because I thought we stayed on topic with some of the live current events. Having CJ here, I really like Bam's game. I think Bam could be a leader of a team. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think when Jimmy eventually leaves Miami, it's going to be Bam's team. And maybe Jimmy retires on the Heat, but like Bam's still a lot younger, so eventually it'll get passed. The torch will get passed to Bam, I think, and it's his team, and I think a lot of guys are going to want to play with Bam because he allows them to play small ball, and it's Miami. Like
Son and he's like booked. Did Bam get signed yet? Where he's booked in Miami?
I don't know that, but I they're going to make it work. I think they'll give him the max deal.
Yeah, I believe he has like a mid-level. I think like he's good for now. Like it's not like he's going to leave anytime soon, but I don't think he's like had the max contract yet. But I think they will max him at some point.
He ended up in Boston because Bam and Tatum are best friends.
Damn.
And they played on Team USA and won.
If that were to happen, and I mean, it'll depend on who comes free agent at what time, and if they really feel like their situation isn't that great. Like I could see Bam going to the Celtics actually when Jimmy's time's done. And then Bam, maybe Bam's contract comes up around that same time. He's going to be thinking like, all right, do I want to start over and recruit, or do I want to join an almost finished product that's got other stars and guys I like?
Think about it though.
And he'd be a great fit because Horford's going to be done around that time, and I love what Horford's doing again, but he's getting up there, man. Horford played on the Florida Gators team with Joakim Noah. Like, he's getting old.
He was a rookie.
What?
I was in 8th grade when Horford was a rookie when we won the championship.
So how many years has that been?
15 or 16.
All right. So, yeah, he's definitely got like – I'm not saying he doesn't have a couple more left, but, 3 or 4 at most, and it's – at some point, you're going to see a decline, which is crazy because, like I said the other night in the podcast, it's like all he's doing is ascending. I can't every day his fantasy value goes up and I'm like, all right, that's still somewhat decent. And then he does even better than I thought he would do.
But he doesn't have to play athletically though. All he's got to do is move his feet. You know?
Yeah, but then he does shit like dunk on Giannis. And then you're thinking,
That dunk wasn't that impressive.
I thought it was.
Giannis in the play.
But for Horford to just be like, no, I can pump fake at the 3-point line and drive, like it's like a video game move. Like Horford shouldn't be able to do that. Not in my opinion.
So getting back to your part for the Celtics for Bam, what if they are a finished product and they win this year? Someone's got to look up his contract status.
Well, then Bam's not going to go because then he'll get the same amount of hate, if not more, than KD.
I don't think he's on that level.
If they want, like, he's going to stay right now. I'm just saying a couple of years down the road. I mean, Miami's going to offer him the max, and usually it pays to stay. Like, you get that extra year. So I don't see him leaving unless it's a trade.
I do see us
Bradley Beal? He's got to go somewhere else. He can't play his whole career in Washington and just die.
I love Bradley Beal. I don't care if he's on the Celtics. I don't care if he's on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Like I need to see him in the playoffs on a good team. Because honestly, you know who he reminds me of? Like his career path. He is Devin Booker right now. Nobody realizes how good he is because he plays for this shit team. And say what?
Well, he kind of reminds me of Ray Allen with the way his career with his teams have been.
But I think this is perfect though because he's got more juice than Ray Allen though. I'd say at this point, like he can still be a good player. Where Ray Allen unfortunately just never got off the team quick enough. Like, I mean, obviously he had success with Boston, but like imagine if Ray Allen could still dunk the ball on a good team like that Ray Allen I would have liked to see on a good team. And I think Beal still has it. So like people think like because I'm a Lakers fan, I don't want the Celtics to do good. That's the contrary. And like I'm a fan of basketball first and then the Lakers because I just think like historically you want good basketball and good historic teams are gonna make their impact. Like you can be fans of teams because once impact and history are made, it's good basketball, and that's good for all teams, you know?
That's true.
Now, I don't always agree with it, but like a guy like Jerry Jones or like Bill Belichick to kind of speak to two different levels of management, coach and GM, they were saying like, we want our bad teams to be good because everyone makes money when everyone in your league is good. So like, to extend rivalries to the point where you can't cheer for a team or a player, I'm over that theory.
Unless you got a Wade Phillips.
So I'm going to throw some rapid fire at you because we haven't started the second game yet. Mike, where do you think Julio Jones is going to go? We haven't talked much football on this.
I didn't know he was a free agent, but if he is,
I got to bounce, guys.
Packers need a receiver.
Oh, all right, CJ.
I appreciate y'all having me on, though. I'll come back next time.
Yeah, man. Thanks for joining.
I might be able to make it tomorrow during the game itself for the Celtics and give you my first takes on what I'm seeing.
Wow.
We also got a voicemail set up for anyone that has any questions going forward. Even CJ could leave a question tonight, tomorrow in the game. Like if he's feeling too lubricated or any kind of things are going on and he doesn't want to show his face, he could still drop in and it won't play the voicemail live on air. So there's plenty of ways to give us some feedback, CJ.
I think James tomorrow, so I'm not going to get like a duo in one screen.
Sounds good, man.
So,
But thanks for coming on.
yeah, I appreciate y'all having me on, and I got to dip because it's getting late.
No, you're good, man.
Yeah,
All right.
we were going to try to have an earlier show too. I was about to ask you, Mike, what you wanted to do with the second game, if you want to still stay live, or how you wanted to handle it. Because I just enjoy these, but I would rather go. I would rather go live more often and keep some bullets in the chamber and keep you guys engaged and entertained. But if you got, I mean, what's funny is we've got a lot of views on our long shows too. I keep saying like these 2-hour shows probably are too long, but those are some of our most viewed shows. So I think people just like hanging out with us. But what are you feeling tonight, Mike?
I mean, whatever. I'm gonna watch the game, so it's up to you. We can call it now. Say it's under an hour and go with that, or I mean, if we stay on, it's going to be another, 2.5, 3 hours. So,
Right.
I mean, I'm going to stay up and watch. So I'm going to have some bathroom breaks though in between them. So as long as you're good holding it down and I'm good holding it down one-on-one, but it's up to you. I mean,
Well, I was gonna just ask you some playoff scenarios. Do you think Finney Smith is going to be able to repeat anywhere close to the performance he had last game?
I love Finney Smith because he was a first freshman at Virginia Tech. Started for the Hokies as a freshman. Love that kid. But then I believe that was when Seth Greenberg got fired, and then he transferred, or he was like the first year after Greenberg, and then that next coach got fired. Same thing. He transferred after 1 year and went to Florida. Good for him. He's in the league. He's doing great. So I always root for him. But I will say this. I personally liked Crowder and Bridges tonight over Finney Smith. They were both just a little bit cheaper than Finney Smith, and I mostly just like them because they're the home team, and Phoenix has looked good at home, lost 2 on the road. The refs seem to get on Chris Paul a little bit, as you alluded to, and I think it could go back the other way. The pendulum can swing back the other way this game in favor of Phoenix.
I hope they don't do that though. Like, I thought the game was badly officiated for Chris Paul and some of these Suns. So I hope they don't overreact. Like I was telling CJ when you were using the facilities, like just stay consistent. That's all I want. Like if you want to call it that ticky tack for Chris Paul and the Suns, like let's keep it that same level throughout at least the entire game. But I would even like it if you could do that for the series, please. Like I mean, I just don't like it with like there are different styles, just like there are different umpires in baseball that have different strike zones. So like I was telling CJ, I just want to know what that strike zone is, so that way I can tell my players how to react.
Right. Yeah. If it were that easy with a strike zone in baseball, right? Like, it's never the same. It could be if they wanted to actually use K zone as an automated strike zone, but that also would change the game. So I think now we're getting sidetracked because I don't want to change baseball. Baseball is boring as it is, but I still like it how it is. But so far, no score. 1 minute in, a lot of bricks. A lot of bricks being laid. And
That's also good for
Ayton has
fantasy.
already picked up an early offensive foul. So if he can, for some reason, he gets into foul trouble early, this is good for my lineups tonight because I faded Ayton.
I did not fade him.
And Mikal Bridges nails a 3. Doncic also had a layup or a floater. But
I do think we both
good start.
we both did fade Joel Embiid, right?
Yep, entirely. Never touched him at all, and he sucked. I know that. So that's good. I got so I did do 2 of those showdown lineups for the late game, and I got my my superstar is Mikal Bridges or Jay Crowder. And I got Luca, so I got the heavy price guy in there. But
Which is why you did it, so you can get more heavy
right,
price guys throughout the lineup, and then you superstar one of the role players essentially.
But yeah, as long as Mikal Bridges or Jay Crowder has a big game too, could be prime time, money time.
And
Oh,
Chris
Paul,
also,
bad pass.
I was also telling the people, Mike, that I had some real sacrifice because I had to take a family call during dinner, which pushed it back. So not only did I make the sacrifice to come on and have to eat again on the podcast, but it's warm here in Michigan, and I turned off the air conditioner just for this podcast. So I do care. Our man, the water boy, did shout me out tonight. He liked the way I look, and I appreciate it. But I'm just saying, like, I'm not at 100% tonight, man. So I appreciate the love, but I'll do anything for this podcast to be successful. But I know the air conditioner can get quite loud. Talking about heating up, though, what do you think about tomorrow night as I pull up some DraftKings? Any fantasy takes for tomorrow night you want to shout out to the people?
So tomorrow, let's take a look actually, because I haven't looked at tomorrow's lineups yet, but I know we got obviously Celts, Bucks, and we got Grizzlies, Warriors. Ja's going to be out, looks like, again for the rest of the playoffs. So it's going to be similar to last night's lineup. If you think about it, Tyus Jones jumped up in price a good amount. He's at 4,900. I don't know if I like him at that price yet.
What's your theory on
as the starter the night before, but will he do that again? The good news is he's at home. The other thing is Melton. Wow, Melton got 9 minutes last game. That's kind of stunning. What's up with that?
Yeah, that was. I found that to be fascinating too. But what's your theory on that? Like when a guy unexpectedly has a good game, right? But then he jumps up, especially on a small slate like this one. He jumps up like Tyus Jones or Finney Smith, and then you know he's going to be high owned, but like the price went up, and now his expectation goes up, and his role doesn't really change all that much. Like, how do you attack that, or is it just player to player based on the moment? Because with these only being 2 games, we're already limited in the amount of choices we can make. So how would you attack that?
I always try and go for value. Like, I am looking for your salary. I want to take whatever your salary is and times that by 5. And that's how many points, like, so for instance, if you're 4,000, I want to times that by 5. That's 20. I need 20 points from you. And that's the floor I need to feel comfortable hitting for me to want to take you. And that's regardless of slate. I think it just becomes more and more clear who you want to take when the slate gets smaller, in my opinion. And that's why I like the playoff slates, because in the beginning of the playoffs, you're looking at 4 games max. Now we're looking at 2. It does give you the case where you're going to have a lot of duplicate lineups where, you're not going to be too different. You're probably going to have a similar lineup to somebody else or the same lineup as somebody else. But hey, if I split first place with 2 to 3 other people, or even if it's 10 people, I don't care. I am ecstatic.
I'm glad you said that, because I think a lot of people, they focus on trying to be the sole proprietor of the money, right? I want to be the winner, but like in these 2-game slates, just being a consistent winner will probably pay off more than trying to like. If I'm at a family reunion and we're all doing a cookout and we're staying a whole weekend together, I don't want to cook good one night. I want to consistently cook good for the whole weekend. So like I'm gonna preserve my ingredients. I'm gonna make sure that like we have enough food to get through the whole weekend. I'm not gonna just blow it out like it's Thanksgiving dinner, unless it is November and it is Thanksgiving. So I think you have to know your expectations and you have to know your slate. And sometimes the value is there and sometimes it's not. I thought tonight, for example, we had good late breaking value because of Kyle Lowry. With John Moran already being basically ruled out, everyone knows it, everyone saw it at this point. I don't know if like that shocking value is going to be there, but I do think there's going to be some advantages. Like we saw Steven Adams play unexpectedly at the last game. What if they decide not to start Adams and they really throw us on our head again? And like, so you got to be willing to adjust to these lineups really quickly. A guy that I think is just the future in Memphis, and I think we're going to get a good look at him tomorrow. Design is Zaire Williams, who I think
Zaire. Sounds like you're saying Zion.
Well, you guys should know when I first met Mike, I tend to run my words together. And what was it? Bull?
Bull was the one, yes.
Yeah,
now I heard you. I knew exactly what you said that time, but I did have a hard time whenever you said that.
So you guys will notice these little idiosyncrasies that me and Mike have. Like there are certain players that I struggle with, or that like for some reason it just doesn't hit our taste buds quite right.
Well,
Mike,
I know. Well, I know. I also kind of have a tendency to talk fast and sometimes not say things clearly. So forgive me on those too. But I just wanted to point it out just because I know who you were talking about, because obviously Zion's not playing. But for anyone who's just listening, to me, it definitely sounded like Zion. So I wanted to make sure people knew. Because also, I know Zaire Williams. I know a lot of people don't know who he is. So I kind of just felt like that could be an easy confusion for some people.
No, you're right. But I do think he's kind of had that Herbert Jones kind of performance where it's like these playoffs.
Last game, he showed up a little bit.
Yeah, these playoffs always make stars, though. I mean, we see it with Finney Smith. I think Finney Smith will get some recognition, and these type of things. Who's like the one guy that you think had a bad playoffs though that's like hurt himself? Because we talked about a lot of surprises from the good end, whether it be Al Horford's story or PJ Tucker showing up, or Finney Smith. Who's like hurt themselves or had a bad playoff where you're like, maybe this is it for them? That Tony Ferguson moment where you're like, I was a fan of you, or I thought you were something.
Well, I'll say I don't think Dylan Brooks has had a good playoffs, but I don't think that's this is it moment for him. I think he's just kind of he's had a little bit of injuries this year, and I don't even know if saying little bit is doing him justice because I feel like he's had multiple different points in the year where he's missed periods of time, extended periods of time. So I don't know if he's ever really gotten any real rhythm this year. So just that being said, I like Dylan Brooks. I think he's normally a lot better than he's played. So I think he's going to bounce back, but he's had a bad playoffs. And that's the first one that comes to my mind off the top. Um,
Who would you rather have? I got a good either or based on that because that was kind of what I was debating too. Was who I named it was some of these younger guys versus the guy who came out of nowhere. Who would you take next year if you had to pay? Let's say you gave him a 2-year contract. So it's not a 1-year deal, but it's a 2-year deal, and it's a decent sized contract, but not going to kill you. You take Brunson or you take Brooks, 2 years.
that's good. I'll take Brunson right now.
Brunson's been hot. He's like the hot water heater. He's heating up, where Brooks hasn't looked so good, but I think Brooks has the higher.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I think Brooks has the higher potential. That's all I was going to say.
I agree. Actually, now that you said that, that's a good point. I do think upside wise down the road, Brooks had I don't know, just although Brunson's been impressing me with his offense and his range. I knew he was a great post player for a point guard, but that's like the Villanova way. Like you just play defense, get physical, and then you can back down guys in the post and kick it out for threes because Villanova always had plenty of perimeter shooting, or you can, work your matchup and get a little drop step going or something like that.
Mike, you know how they have different bars, right? They'll have the bar that's like the old man's bar, right? Where like you might see the whiskey and the cowboy hats and like the old boy shooting the pool. And then they got the new age bars where you see the ladies trying to get the men's attention, right? So you got different styles. And so what I want to know from you is of all the big time guys tomorrow night, who's the guy to fade? Is it time to fade Giannis?
I'm wondering. I am wondering. It is at Boston. They're gonna. The thing is,
I'll tell you.
I don't know if his price it is getting up there. It's 11.6 tomorrow, so that's one thing I'm not a huge fan of because that means he's got to get me at least like 60. The thing is, he's got that 3 of the last 4 times, so it shouldn't be inconceivable. But yeah, actually, I think you probably do want to have him in your lineup because it's hard to make up 60 points.
He affects the game so many ways too. Defensively, like it's almost like having a point guard and a center on the court at the same time. Similar to Luka, who's got the ball right now against Chris Paul. I don't know why he's not posting him up. He like literally had Chris Paul on him and backed up to the 3-point line, Mike, and started dribbling like crossover style, like he was an and-one mixed score. Now they got a 3 out of it off a nice pass. I believe he passed it to Maxi Kleber and got a 3 off it. But it's like, man, is that the new age now where like we get a point guard on our best player who's got some size and we back it up for a 3? I mean, it worked. It was efficient, I guess. It just, I don't know. Also, here's a fun fact that people might not realize. Jay Crowder wears 99 because he was a huge football fan and a big 2-sport athlete in high school and wanted to pay homage to his high school roots, even though he's, been a professional in the league for many years. He still wants to he basically wants to prove that he's an athlete, and he's still an athlete at this age. So that's why he still wears the high numbers. I like the high numbers. I just want to mention that because we see it with Jay Crowder, we saw it with Luka. These are some of the the playoff guys who wear the high numbers. I actually think the high numbers are quite
on cue. He gets a tie up with Luka. He's guarding Luka on the perimeter, and then
yes, he is.
Forces a scramble and then a jump ball.
Yeah, and the reason
or at least a timeout. I couldn't tell what happened exactly, but it goes to commercial.
I do use YouTube TV, which puts Mike a little bit ahead of me, but I also am streaming this too, which puts me just a tick behind. But I did see the play, but I'm not that far behind. My internet's pretty good. I gotta get that fiber optics at some point though. And then we'll really be cooking with gasoline. But one of the main reasons I thought about fading Giannis is you could build a very unique lineup because Ja Morant's out, right?
Right.
That's Ja. I didn't say J. Since Mike always pays attention to my pronunciation. But like I don't think I've ever not played Giannis, but I thought about it tonight because with Ja out, everyone's gonna say, well, I'll just take a point guard from Memphis. You know, if you feel safe, you go Tyus. If you're feeling risky, you might go Melton. You might even go slow-mo with a Joe Ingles kind of like small forward hybrid position. But if you went balanced, because there's not that many stars, and you faded Giannis in the early game, and then you went like Curry, Klay Thompson, Jaren Jackson, and you were right, like that could be very big.
Yeah, I was looking at some lineups. I think it's no surprise, but Giannis and Curry are the two guys I think you don't want to pass up. Even though they're high priced, they should hit that value, and then it's about picking the other guys who are going to, get good value at a cheaper price. Not loving Clay at 7.6.
This is the
Pool at 7.2. Honestly, like I liked a bunch of the guys on Memphis. I still like Tyus at 49. I like the slow-mo, as you said, Kyle Anderson at, I think he was, I forget what he was, but it was still super cheap. It was under 44-ish.
I can look it up.
43. I just had it up.
I will say though, I was just showing Jason Tatum. He's 9,600. There's not a chance I pay that price for him when Giannis is just a bit more, and Giannis has to do more with Middleton being out. I would love to play Tatum, but he's at least $1,000 overpriced in my opinion because him and Brown, like they even do each other. It's not even like a fact that it's not even a knock on Tatum's talent. It's like Giannis has to do more because he's without his Robin right now. If I'm getting up to the 10Ks, you better be like having the ball in your hands at all time. And Tatum doesn't have the ball in his hands at all time. So for that reason, I can't pay that much for him.
But the cheap guys I like tomorrow, and there's actually a lot of them. I think Derek White at 3,700. That he got 34 minutes last game.
Yeah,
he only put 23 fantasy points, but at 3,700, I'll take it. He's got 19.5 and 23 fantasy points in the last two games. Hit double digits in just regular points in the 3 of the last 4. I like that price. Pat Connaughton, only 3,800. He's got 30 minutes the last 2 games and 25 and 24 fantasy points the last 2 games. Like that a lot. Grayson Allen's dropped to 3,900. Also, he's averaged over 25 minutes the entire playoffs, it looks like, except for, like the last 6 games, he's 25 minutes or more. And he has actually dipped a little bit in fantasy production the last 3 games. So maybe he's not the guy that you love, because I will say this, he's probably low owned. And just a week ago, it was 22, 23, 38, and 36 fantasy points. So the last 3 games, it's 11, 10, and 11. I get that. So that's where your hesitancy comes in. But his fantasy price has also dropped over 1,000 points or $1,000 in 4 games. So the value is right on those 3. And then just a little bit more, as I mentioned, Kyle Anderson was 4,300. And I'm not a huge Kyle Anderson guy, but he had 38 points, 38 fantasy points in the last game, and that was the one with Ja out. So you want an extra ball handler in? That's Kyle Anderson.
I like that, Mike, and I kind of knew where you were going there, and I'm glad you mentioned it because I was gonna. If you didn't mention it, don't worry. We're gonna bring the heavyweights to the fight because I think Payton Pritchard might have a high upside long term for the Celtics. I know a lot of people like his tenacity, and he's kind of become a Alex Caruso kind of cult hero. I wish maybe even CJ was still on so we could talk about him because I know like he's a fan favorite. But look, when White is getting so much more minutes and he's done it for a championship team like the Spurs, there's not a chance I would play Payton Pritchard over White, and I think enough people will do it. Maybe not a lot of people, but like in these 2 game slates, Mike, all you need is a few people to make that mistake, and over. And I make that mistake sometimes. I'll be transparent. I played Melton when he wasn't starting. When it came out that Steven Adams was starting, it's not that I should have played Adams because that's hindsight, of course. But what I should have done is adjusted to Melton's probably lack of minutes because if they were going big with Adams, that means the small lineup is going to get less minutes. So I think in basketball, you got to pay attention to minutes. And White, I think, is the play. And I always tell Mike, I was in the grocery store picking up inventory. And you got to take inventory of your DraftKings lineup. So we can't always predict the outcomes, Mike. That's hindsight. That's Gov always does that, man. Gives himself heartburn. And sometimes, like with his what ifs and coulds, and I understand that's how he really enjoys playing that way. But man, I'm telling you what, if I played that way, man, my stomach would be too bubbly all night. But I will say, the one thing you can do is like look at the analytics and know that hey, this guy at least he's on the court. And at this point, I think White is probably one of the best plays of the night if it isn't slow mo. Like, and it's the fact that they don't have a point guard, so he's going to play that Joe Ingles role. And I always thought like the he's slow argument is kind of overblown. He is slow, but I think Luka plays even slower than he does at times. Like, but we never talk about that. Like, he's slow and methodical though. Like, he gets it done. I've always liked Kyle's game.
I have to say, I'm watching this game and I'm getting a look at Luka's like arm, and you know how. And I know this is a new age like therapy or whatever, but like these players get these like suction cup marks on their bodies and whatnot.
Yeah.
And it has to do with some type of therapy. I can't explain it, but
it basically
Luka's got all these bruises on his arm, and I'm pretty sure it's from that. But at first glance, they almost look like hickeys and like actual lip marks, like lipstick tattoo marks. You know how Kenyon Martin had those lips on his neck It was supposed to, I can't remember. I think it was Trina. I think it was a female rapper named Trina. They were supposed to be her lips that were tattooed on his neck. But like Luca's got like 3 marks on his arm and right shoulder. Take a look out for that and tell me if those don't look like he just got either some hickeys last night on his arm or some girl just like had some like dark, not red, but like maroonish lipstick, and she just gave him some smooches.
But honestly, that's what it is. In all honesty, that therapy you're speaking of, it's designed to bring blood to the surface. So that's essentially what it is. It's therapeutic hickeys. It honestly is. I mean, truly, that's honestly what it is. It's designed to bring the blood to the surface, like a deep tissue massage almost. You know, how, like if you've ever had like a really professional massage, not one that just like feels good from your boyfriend or girlfriend for 5 minutes, but like one of those like deep tissue ones where they really get in and they needle you with their elbows and like you really get in there and try to unknot some things. That's essentially what they're doing. They're trying to bring the blood to the surface and fix your circulation in a lot of ways. And it's supposed to keep them loose.
So are you saying that the Dallas Mavericks training staff is using their mouths?
Well, I think they're using their mouths to sell these appointments. I don't think Deshaun Watson plays basketball. Not yet.
Oh,
not yet, because he might have to. Because so here's some breaking news for you, Mike. By the way, I heard. So I don't know what happened, and I almost want to. I think me and you talked about it off air about how we like kind of documentaries and like maybe not conspiracies, but like we like to be inquisitive. I would like it if we did a show, and I know Gov would be down because Gov is one of the guys who likes to do deep dives and he likes to look at numbers. I think it would be cool if we did it, and I don't think a lot of podcasts have the guts to do it. Is if each one of us took like an off-season story and we did a deep dive into like what really happened in our opinion on it. And I would suggest some of these things because like what happened to Delvin Cook is really interesting because there was a domestic dispute and then they say he was defending himself against his girlfriend and it got ugly, but the violence was protruded by both of them, but then he had to defend himself. It came out today that he probably will not face any legal ramifications from that. So I don't know what was happened. Like again, we would have to do a deep dive on that kind of stuff. But I would be a fan of like we do these watch-a-thons with these basketball games, Mike. When we start to slow down, I wouldn't mind watching a sports documentary live or breaking one down, telling the people what we're going to watch, and then like breaking it down on a podcast later or even doing our own research. I think these kind of topics are interesting. Like, do you believe Deshaun Watson's story? Like, and that's the thing is I think me, you, and Gov could give an honest opinion about it without having to worry about sponsorship right now, which would give the people an honest view of it. Because I don't think we would say Deshaun Watson is completely innocent or he's completely guilty. I think we would honestly look at it from a two-coin perspective. You got guys like Kamara, it's wrapped up in some things now. Like the F1 thing is interesting to me too. It's like everyone loves this documentary F1 on Netflix, and I haven't tried it yet. But
yeah, I haven't either, but my cousin told me about it, and I was surprised because I didn't know her to be a sports fan at all. But her and her boyfriend watched the F1 show and say it's great. It's got them into the sport.
Yeah, I got a coworker that basically did the same thing. She her boyfriend would watch sports. She wasn't that into it. They started watching this documentary. They both became fans of it. And now she was waking up at like 3 in the morning. And I think all that's great. And they're going to do a golf documentary similar to the F1, which I obviously know a little bit more about. So does Gov. And then obviously Mike's no dummy. But I'd be more interested in doing some of that kind of stuff with like watch-a-thons and stuff like that as the playoffs wind down. I think we could do some fun content. I mean, we always talk about being a virtual bar, Mike. It's like when Mike's with plenty of bars. I don't think I'm pulling any punches there. You've been in that environment before, Mike.
Yeah.
There's TVs on. And so, like, I like that environment where it's like we can talk about anything, but there's always something on. I would be in favor. And then you guys could watch along with us, and we could even time it up perfectly if we used a Netflix or Hulu or one of these streaming services or, I just think there's a lot of good content out there, and we can do it in unique ways.
Yeah, I don't know if I can watch a documentary and do a show at the same time because
I'm saying like
watching the documentary, I'm trying to.
Not saying we have to watch it live, but we could watch it and then recap it, or we can do our own research.
That's fine, yeah.
Into like one topic. Maybe we do a show and we say we're going to do a deep dive on whether we think whether we think games are fixed. We talked about that last night. Do you think games are fixed? And we pick one topic and we do a deep dive into it. And we'll bring on guests that have opinions specifically on that topic. I like having a variety of things. I want to do this podcast as like a kitchen. I want to be able to turn on the stove and turn on the microwave and run the blender sometimes and just be able to bring you guys all kinds of sports content, but use different tools to do it. I think that's the future. Mike, let's do this as a fun exercise. How do you think DraftKings would have changed had DraftKings and FanDuel merged? Because I don't know if our younger viewers know, but that was a real possibility. It almost happened.
I'm just glad that it didn't because, like any industry, if you have a monopoly, it's bad for the consumer.
It's true.
Then you don't have any competition, and then the service lacks because there's no incentive to improve it because you're the only game in town. So I think it's great that there's two options, and I've gone through stretches of which one I like more over the other, and I think that's just because they're constantly trying to improve their product, what they offer, and their incentives or bonuses and stuff like that. They have to compete with one another. If they didn't, everyone would just jump ship. So I think the competition's great. Monopolies it's a fun board game. It's my favorite board game, but monopolies are bad for the economy and consumers.
I would agree.
The regular people like you and me.
Now, Mike, what's funny about that is you mentioned like liking Monopoly. I gotta say, I agree with everything you say, and I had a bad joke as you were making your point because I saw the play where McGee got hit in the nuts. And that's a perfect. Mike summed it up in a nutshell, and I'm like, I can't use a nutshell now.
You did a nut shot.
But then I'm like, kind of felt bad. I'm like, I was just gonna say that you summed it up perfectly in a nutshell. And then I see Jake Crowder and Batons joking around about their boy JaVale getting hit in the nuts. So it's like, well, I guess everyone's just having a good old time about it. So some high school humor, even from these adult professionals. You love to see people staying young. I will say they had a cool name though, Mike. I agree with everything you say about competition, and it would have been bad because I mean, we would have had to see like a Yahoo or maybe Amazon or one of these other bigger companies that could have just taken on a ton of money to compete with them, because otherwise it would have been bad for the small guy. But the name would have been fantastic. They were thinking about Dueling Kings. That's just a good name. By the way, FanDuel, they got some good colors, but you got to step up your game. DraftKings has got some good swag, good merchandise. But
Dueling Kings, I could say.
Yeah, Dueling Kings is good.
Not a bad combo.
You know who's got the best merchandise of all fantasy, though? Maybe I shouldn't even shout these guys out because they just banned me in Michigan. I know it's not their fault. Actually, that's a fun topic. I'll end on that. That's a fun one as we get closer to halftime. And I like it at the hour and a half podcast. I think that's perfect. I will say, unless Gov pops in with the golden ticket or the golden nugget of knowledge here, we're gonna wrap up. But if Gov pops in, we gotta let the man go. We gotta spin the wheel some more. But I wanted to say, okay, so the organization, if you guys haven't checked organization, I'm talking like with some kind of security for it. The fantasy site that is fantastic for merchandise and done really good promotion is Underdog Fantasy. If you haven't seen like their logos and their designs, they're fantastic. But Mike, do you know what they recently did in Michigan? So they banned me from playing on Underdog, and the reason it's perceived that way is because they think that the casinos and these sports books are putting pressure on different states to ban like the prop betting sites like Thrive Fantasy or Underdog, because they would rather you bet on the money line or the player props through like your sports book than have like an Underdog Fantasy. So like it's kind of weird that like gambling companies are kind of ratting themselves out, or like I guess it's competition, but it's just a weird version of competition that I guess speaks to that monopoly thing that you spoke about, maybe not in the same way, but it just hurts the consumer.
Yeah, it's big business getting involved in politics.
Right.
And then telling the politicians to make like legislative moves that favor them, which
right
is all, it doesn't sound like it's like who cares in the gambling industry in reality, but that just shines a light on what actually happens in all facets of government and industries, like for instance the pharmaceutical industry, and you can let your mind go with that, like Pfizer and companies like that.
Well, I know it happens even on the local level because the lady who, if you guys don't know, I'm disabled and I've had to go through some operations, and I had a bad incident with my foot that lasted over a year and a half. So I was seeing the same person for a year and a half, and we developed this relationship. And speaking to her, she actually never became a full doctor, even though she worked in ER and specialized in vascular procedures, because she didn't want to get in bed with the pharmaceutical companies, because she had some nightmare stories where they tried to take her out for steak dinners just to be nice, and just to do this and things of that nature. Like you know when someone's being genuine or not. And the fact that they say Underdog is like a bad version of gambling in Michigan, but yet the sports books are still allowed to operate. DraftKings is allowed to operate.
Politician money.
Yeah. It's like saying
DraftKings and FanDuel paid them off to say, cut that other side product out.
That's exactly what they did. Because
that's what Pfizer did too with,
Yeah. Well,
And they're
again,
still doing it.
to use a non-political opinion, it would be like it'd be like pulling out a checkerboard, being like, "Well, I don't like checkers, but I will play blackgammon," or like I'll play. It's like, well, they're all games, so like I don't know. It's just nonsense. Like Mike said, it's politics. So, Mike, this is your chance to pay it back. Give me any free agent on football, and I'll give you their destination of where they. Okay, I'll give you their worst landing spot and their best landing spot on the spot.
All right. I can't go with free agents because I simply don't know exactly who free agents, who is and who isn't a free agent still right now. But I have one for you, and it's a good one. Baker Mayfield, and you know what I mean with that. Like, he's not staying. I mean, he could, and you could say he's staying in Cleveland as a backup or whatever they want to do with him with Deshaun there. But
Detroit Lions, and I am a Lions fan, so it's going to seem biased, but I'll tell you why it makes sense. Glenn Dorsey drafted him. We need a younger option that's different than Jared Goff, and I think Baker would be perfect. I think Baker wants to come to us. I think we want Baker. I just think we want to make the money right, and we got to make it perceived to be right. But what I don't like, though, Mike, speaking of Baker, is how we can have one opinion on somebody else and have another opinion on another guy when they both have personalities. And like, how is that a bad thing, right? Like, we love the personality when the player is good, but when the player is like struggling, then it's like, oh, we don't want that personality.
yeah, like when Tom Brady's cursing out his teammates on the sideline, he's passionate.
Right. He's
But
passionate.
when Cam Newton's cursing out his teammates or something, oh man, he is just
All
he's
he was
lost
saying,
control.
they'll make it racial.
No one respects him.
Yeah, I'll say it. They make it racial sometimes, even. Like,
They do.
not always, but like that's the extreme. That's unfair, and I'm not. So like to go back to Baker though, I maybe he's not the superstar starter he was drafted to be, but he deserves a Ryan Tannehill like chance. He deserves a Ryan Fitzpatrick like chance. Maybe he's not the top guy that he was built to be, but he's not Ryan Leaf. He didn't play himself out of the league. He's done some of the right things, and like
whoever gets Baker is going to get him probably at a discount. I mean, if they trade for him, okay, but you're not going to have to give up the number one overall pick or whatever you want to, however you want to look at it. Like,
so here's a fun topic, and I think this would be good because we don't talk a lot of football. So like we'll talk a little football, and then we'll watch the second half off stream. Who's more likely to make it another Pro Bowl, Baker Mayfield or Michael Thomas?
I don't know what to make of Michael Thomas, and I have a bias there because 2 years ago I took him in fantasy with my first overall pick, with the 8th pick, and I don't think he played. He might have come back. I can't remember. But at a certain point in the season, he became dead to me.
Yeah.
And I'll never forgive him for that.
I did see an interview where Jameis said like the biggest regret was that it's just like they never got to play together. Like I guess they're really close.
And then I don't think he played at all last year either. So
No.
I don't know what his fucking deal is because I don't even think he was hurt last year. I think it was just a.
No, he was hurt early.
Okay, well, regardless. I'm done with him. I want nothing to do with Michael Thomas. I am so low on him. And that being said, I have all that bias. Like I explained, I have that I can't forget bias. So
I hold a grudge.
I'm not taking him ever for forever in fantasy unless it's DFS, and I just like him because his value is low 1 week, and he's also proven it for a couple weeks in a row. Okay, now he's back, but hell no, am I not drafting him? Hell no, do I want him on my team? I forget who. Oh, Baker was the other one. I'll
Yeah,
take Baker in a heartbeat because Baker's got, even though, man, that Odell's dad's film was pretty, pretty bad and accurate criticism of Baker. Like, he doesn't always see the whole field. Now, granted, is that partly on the coach? Is the coach not making Odell the primary target as much as he should be? I mean, if this guy's just getting open all like, or is Baker not good at progressions? I can't tell you all that right now. I haven't looked into that deeply enough, but like, it was weird that one year where Baker got or Odell got hurt, and then Baker started to kind of open up and light it up. It was now that I don't have to force it to you, things are good. And then I don't know. I still think Baker, most quarterbacks, if you're accurate, you give them protection, they're going to be solid for you. And that's all you can ask for.
I do think Baker's going to have a Drew Brees like career arc. I really do. Where people gave up on, and it's very similar because remember Drew Brees was
short.
He was coming off a shoulder injury though.
Right. That's true.
He looked terrible. It was like, dude, his shoulder was shredded, and he tried to play through it, similar to Baker. I just think that's why I think it's a good fit for the Lions. Not so much that I'm a homer. It's like, go back to the guy that believes in you. It's the same reason that the Lions have Jared Goff. It's because Brad Holmes believes in Jared Goff. He's the one who drafted him. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see the same thing with Dorsey. Another topic going around the NFL circles, and maybe this is true, people are wondering if the Packers are trying to sabotage Rodgers, because I heard a theory that the Packers should do, Mike, and I think you would agree with it, and we can wrap up on this, because I think it's a fun topic, and as soon as you hear it, you'll be like, that makes a lot of sense. Why don't the Packers go and sign Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham, right? Get both of them. And by the time, like, so one of them gets hurt, or, let's say Jarvis can only give you half a year. Odell's ready to go. He's fully healthy at that point. Give them both guys at a mid-level exception kind of thing. Like, not the veteran minimum, but like they're veterans, so they don't need the money per se, and you get to play with Aaron Rodgers to finish your career. And then you still have the young puppies like you still have Lazard, and who's the other young kid they just drafted? Rodgers would give that man the death stare. That's why I can't think of his name. He's a little gadgety receiver, but I thought he had talent. I'm trying to think of his name. It might honestly be better we don't remember, because at least we're not like overproducing. Like, hey, we had this segment in the canon all day long, guys, and I forget the little kid's name, but he's small, but he's got some wiggle to him. What do you think about that theory, Mike? Just bring in two. It could be even Julio and Jarvis. Like, just bring in two older veterans. I
think it's a good idea. I think with your one point about the, just in case one of them gets injured, I don't think you're signing any free agents with the expectation that they're going to get injured. Like, I think obviously that can happen to anybody, but you don't think I want to sign two of these guys thinking, all right, well, they're both injury prone, so at least I'll have one of them. Because at that rate, it's like, well, if you think they're both injury prone, probably don't want to sign both of them. Then they could both get injured. But I think Odell's thing was kind of a fluke. But I also don't know that Odell's going to be really ready. Come the start of the season. He tore his ACL, right?
Yeah.
He's not going to play next year. And if he does, I don't want to pay for him.
It was a bad tear too. And it was the opposite knee that he had hurt before. So like both knees now are.
Yeah.
So Mike, I really like what the Lions did. And a lot of people like what the Lions did for a lot of reasons. And I know it's going to seem homework, but I got to mention it. And like, I don't want to talk about a lot. That's why I want to mention it at the end, because it will seem homework. I'm telling you, DJ Shark was the most underrated free agent wide receiver signing of the whole entire offseason. And I would have said that no matter what team he went to. I swear to you, based on how he is only making $10 million for 1 year. And I think this guy's the number one guy. People are acting like he tore his ACL. Mike, the injury was an ankle injury. And he was playing for, like, I feel like they did the Damian Lillard thing. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars actually did him a favor. They're the ones who told him, hey, we're not going anywhere. Like, we want these young guys to get a look. We're not going to force you back. I think that's very underrated to his potential.
Well, yeah, they were tanking.
Right. So they asked him not to play. It's not Michael Thomas situation. They asked him not to play because they wanted a better look at younger players. And Mike gave me some credit at the end of the show for my takes. Like, give the people 1 second half take for this game, and I got mine ready to go if you need me to go first.
Cam Johnson has an impact.
Oh no! Don't do that to me. That was mine.
And Mikal Bridges continues to also play a nice role. My guys to have impact are the role players on Phoenix: Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, Jay Crowder.
Okay, so if you guys don't know, and you guys have probably figured it out, me and Mike don't always agree on players. For some reason, the one guy we always agree on is Cam Johnson. Every time Mike's feeling Cam Johnson, so am I. I don't know why they don't play this man more. He has played fantastic defense on Luka tonight. And I'm not saying like he shut him down because Luka's a superstar. He has been right there up in him, though. Like, Kobe always talked about it. Like, when you're guarding a superstar, don't try to stop the superstar. Try to piss the superstar off. And I think Cam Johnson's doing a good job pissing him off because that length, that size. And Cam Johnson's a really good shooter, man. I don't know why they don't rely on him more than like a Shamet. I'm not saying Shamet shouldn't get any minutes, but come on, we need to see more Cam. And Diallo's playing really well, man, as a defensive center. That is Chuck Diallo, right? He's still over.
I think it's Bismack Biyombo.
Is it Biyombo? So sorry, I guess I'm old. So like, Diallo was the Biyombo of my generation. So you guys got to forgive me. But same type of player, this long, athletic kind of defender. He's doing really well. I like a lot of what Phoenix does. I really do. So, guys, with that being said, we got on earlier because of CJ. Me and Mike wanted to wrap up earlier. We were without Gov tonight. We'll try to be back in the next day or so. I think everyone that comes on always loves it, Mike, because we're free. We shoot the shit. We're honest with people. We got a voicemail set up now, so if you guys have any questions, you can always drop them anytime. I got some in the hopper, so we're gonna play some of those. I think in the next podcast, Mike, and that should be fun. I don't know what's on them, and I kind of want to keep it that way, even if it's inappropriate. We're not sponsored by anyone, so it's not like if they say something crazy, we got to worry about it. So I think it's a perfect time to just like let it fly and get a true reaction to what the people think. And again, like and subscribe. We only need about 48 more people, and we will be doing a giveaway. Mike, any last minute points for the people?
Just enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy the game.
Okay, I got one for you. Just one more. So you always wear a baseball cap, right? Mike's always got the baseball cap on. We're about to do a giveaway. What's your favorite? What's your favorite non-sports baseball cap?
I always wear. I have just solid color caps. So I like the. My favorite one was the white one, but that's dirty.
Yeah,
I
the
wear that one too much. I gotta wash that. And then I used to have a black one that was nice. That went with everything, but I lost that. And I have a red and an orange one, and so I try and match up with whatever I'm wearing with the hat.
I like
But most of the time, I'm saying no logo. It's just an accessory.
I told you that.
Cover up the shine.
I like the shine, Mike. You're looking good, man. I got a haircut. You got some nice polish there. I said last question, Mike, but I gotta set you up because I don't think people know that you're a Hokie. You're a big Hokie supporter. Who is your quarterback? Nostalgic. It doesn't have to be the best, but who's like your guy when you think of Virginia Tech quarterbacks? Who's your guy? Who would you?
It's Mike Vick. It's Mike Vick all day.
Okay, so
before I went there, but that's what got me into even knowing the Hokies and all about them, and that's pretty much why I became a fan of the school, and then that's why I applied there for college, and
but
the rest is history.
But if you take Mike Vick, you gotta get Marcus too. Were you okay with Marcus?
He was good. I mean, he was
I think
a college kid, so he was not always on his best behavior or not.
Well, either was Mike.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. But and then part of that's if you ever watch the 30 for 30 documentary on Mike Vick, it's fascinating, and it goes into just his whole upbringing, and it's just interesting. And not to say like with Marcus Vick, not to condone the dog fighting thing or Marcus Vick where he pulled a gun on some kids at a McDonald's or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but that's vaguely what I remember of the story. That was like his last straw at Virginia Tech, which is what got him thrown off the team. But he was good. We were ranked number 3. We were ranked number 3 until we lost to Miami. We were like 9-0 or 10-0. Then we lost to Miami late in the season. And the good news is it wouldn't have mattered had we gone undefeated because so did Texas and USC, and they played in the national championship. And you couldn't ask for a better national championship game. So that was one of the all-time best games I've ever seen.
Well, I want to say, Mike, these people
Most entertaining.
These people hung out with our 3-man crew, and I thought CJ was a good guest. So thanks, CJ, for coming on. Hope we can do it again.
Thank you, CJ.
And I'm going to leave it with a 4-man crew. You guys should pop over to TNT. It's the best 4-man crew in the game. The boys from TNT are on TV right now. Shaq, Kenny, Ernie. I could only wish to be as good as Ernie. So we had a 3-man booth. I'm going to kick it over to the 4-man booth in TNT. Enjoy the second half. I think the second half is going to be good. We both like Cam Johnson. I think we're going to see some fireworks in this game. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Take care, guys. Good night.
Adios.